My name is Miriam Issa. I am honored to be your MC, and welcome to the Students for Liberty Freer Future Fest. And I just want to tell everyone in this room right now and everyone watching on the internet as we are live streaming on Twitch, on YouTube, on the Freer Future Fest website, God damn it, we made it. Holy crap. It's been a rough few months. It's been a rough few years. There's COVID, there's lockdowns, there's all of the protests, the racial reckoning, the political crises, a stagnant Congress. We have political crises here in our homeland, abroad as well, and all of the personal crises that we don't know that you are also grappling with right now, because the last 18 months sure brought a lot up to the surface. So I want to welcome everyone here, because the conversations that we all get to engage with today will be the smartest conversations you will have all year long, the most stimulating, sometimes the most ridiculous, but they will be the ones that make your brains hurt in a good way. That is why we are here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can you tell I'm legitimately super excited to spend the day with you. So this isn't even a real microphone, so I don't know why I'm moving it around. I'm curious to know who lives in Nashville, who's a local, raise your hand. All right, we got some locals. Y'all gotta let me know later where to eat the hot chicken. Okay, who lives in Tennessee but not in Nashville? Who came from other parts? You right there, all right, where do you live? I couldn't hear that, but I hope the rest of you did. All right, who came from a different states in the US of A? Oh my God, that's almost everybody. Amazing. Did anyone actually fly here internationally? Who crossed borders in the middle of a pandemic to be here? Raise your hands. Thank you. And again, those of you on the internet, let us know in the comment section where all of you are coming from. A lot is at stake. That is why we showed up today. So thank you everyone for being here. And now I want to bring up to the stage the man who made this possible. This is the man who is leading the incredible organization that is Students for Liberty. Can we please bring up the CEO, Dr. Wolf von Laer.
Thank you.
Every time it rains, it rains.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Freer Future Fest. I'm really grateful to be here. It's fantastic weather. We have a very cool venue. Who of you has ever been in a baseball stadium for a conference? One person, two people. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And we have comedians, we have music, we have great speakers, and we're in a fantastic city. So I couldn't be more excited to be addressing all of you. And I want to thank all of the sponsors and the speakers for making this possible. And I want to thank you, of course, all of the staff of Students for Liberty, because this has been in planning for years. Yes, there was COVID, we had to cancel events, but now we are finally here. And I also want to thank the board of directors. We have Sloan Frost here. Say hi to everyone, Sloan. And there was like a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but finally here we are, and I'm sure you will have a blast. And I want to especially thank the sponsors, and specifically the Objective Standard Institute, with whom we have been working over the last years, not only here in the United States, but internationally, to share rational philosophy. And I also want to thank Reason, Concerns, Veterans for America, EdChoice, People United for Privacy, and FIRE. But last but not least, I would also really like to say thank you to my fantastic wife, Sophie, because she is working tirelessly to make me a better leader, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, my heart. But now we are all here to overcome what is eroding the American dream. The culture war is killing us from the inside out. The culture war, to just define my terms, is the phenomenon that politics becomes increasingly about morality, religion, and culture instead of politics and the ramifications of these policies. It is about who is evil and who is righteous. And you cannot keep peace in a society when people believe that things are done to them because of the evil intentions of others. Them versus us mentality is utterly destructive. But we have to realize it's also very lucrative. Red meat sells. Triggering the lips sells. Provoking conservatives sells. And along the way of doing this, we have lost sight of the real problem. The real problem is government's never-ending appetite to eat up parts of all of our lives. The culture war wants you to believe that everything is fine only if your team is in power, and that everything goes to hell if the other party is in power. And the culture war is fueling authoritarianism and big government. We saw it with Trump and in his often unhinged rhetoric that frequently threatened the rule of law as well as the separation of powers. But we also see Biden right now, where he is trying to force vaccinate over 100 million people without even talking to Congress. That is government unchecked. And it doesn't matter how much you like the policies of any parties here in this country or around the world. We need to be deeply concerned about the abuse of power from either side, independent where we feel our alliances are. Because both the left and the right act against our interest, against the interest of the majority. Both sides crank up the printing presses, which leads to widespread inequality and stealing away the savings of billions of people. As a matter of fact, there's over 2 billion people right now on this planet that live in two-digit inflation or more. And it can happen here as well. Both sides want to rule over your life because they know what's best for you. Both sides want you to be subject yourself to the decree of their own ideas instead of acting on your own. Politics has become a blood sport. It is not about winning anymore. It is about destroying the so-called enemy, the other, the Republican, the Democrat, the Green, the Libertarian. And data shows that. There's actually evidence that right now, out-party hate is more important than in-party love. People identify more about what they hate instead of what they have in common, even in politics. That is a recipe for disaster. This is the actual road taken by Hitler's Germany, Chavez's Venezuela, and Putin's Russia. So, may I ask you, is the land of the free walking down a similar path? I do believe, and Students for Liberty believes, that it can be avoided. But we do have to rise above partisan politics. We need to stop identifying so strongly with either side and realize it's not about left versus right. It is about the fight against authority versus liberty. Thank you. We have to realize that the culture war does not allow for the very age-old and very wise dictum of live and let live. So we need to break out of these identitarian strongholds that politics has over us and talk to one another peacefully, respectfully, and with an open mind and heart. And it truly is possible. Some of you probably know a lot about the history of the founding of this country, but one of the most strong political feuds that we had was Thomas Jefferson against Samuel Adams. They were at each other's throat politically for quite a long time. But did you know that Thomas Jefferson actually has a bust of Samuel Adams in his home in Monticello? That is because he really appreciated his opponent. And now it's time for us to do the same. Don't get me wrong, I'm not asking you to put a bust of Tucker Carlson or Nancy Pelosi in your home. But we can do something similar. We can potentially like or follow somebody on YouTube or Twitter who is a leftist or who is a right-winger that we don't agree with. Another thing that we can do, and we can do it, we don't have to look for the government, is that we can just consume less media. Because the media is making money. Thank you, yes. It's good to be informed, and there's many ways to be informed, but often media is just fueled by hatred and trying to fuel also disgust against the others, and they're making money with it. As I've mentioned, it sells. but also consume ideas from people that you normally disagree with. Diversify your information stream. We are now a generation that has more information at our fingertips than anyone before in humankind. But it's so hard to decipher what's true from what is false, and it's so easy to just consume what we already believe. But if we are diversifying our information stream, I think we will be more educated citizens and can make better decisions for ourselves, for our families, for our communities. So please, everyone, and I think you're here because of that, choose kindness and compassion and focus how all of us want the same things, independent what party we're voting for or what ideas we believe in. We want prosperity for our families, we want safety for us, we want to live in peace. So let's focus on that instead of all of the things that make us different. And these are the things that we can do today. We don't need to wait for the politicians to save us. We can choose to live and let live. Thank you. And this is what we're doing here at Students for Liberty with our Not My Culture War campaign. Right now, we are spreading these ideas to hundreds of different colleges this fall semester alone, where we share the message of like, hey, silent majority, let's talk about the ideas respectfully without it being each other's throat all the time. We're just advocating for a simple message about live and let live. And there's no other way of us not being able to do it, because Students for Liberty right now is in 114 countries. We have students who are in authoritarian dictatorships. We have students who have seen what hatred leads to, where people argue against one another and don't respect one another anymore, don't talk to one another anymore, because that paves the way to authority, to dictatorships. But our students are focusing on taking actions and not pointing fingers. So let me share with you what our student volunteers that we have in all of these countries here in the United States, but all around the world are doing. Last year alone, our students have organized an incredible 2,571 events with over 600,000 people. And we have done it in Afghanistan, we have done it in Venezuela, we have done it in the DRC, and we even have done it in California. So we have built a worldwide movement that spreads peace, love, and liberty. And thus, we don't want to focus on just all of us, like how we are different, but what we have in common. Yes, our volunteers look differently, they speak different languages, and have entirely different life experiences. However, all of us understand that we don't need a culture war. Instead, we need to focus on building a culture of compassion and tolerance that the liberty movement is truly built on. We focus on the ideas that advocate for a tolerant and free society, as advocated by thinkers like Hayek, Tocqueville, or Rand. So let me just cite Ludwig von Mises on this point. He said very eloquently, "A free man must be able to endure it when his fellow men act and live otherwise than he considers proper. He must free himself from the habit, just as soon as something does not please him, of calling for the police, calling for the state, calling for authority." We can take personal responsibility. If we're offended, fine, we're offended. But then we can still try to understand where the other person is coming from. So please, let's not give in to authority and ask government to deal with all of our quibbles, and instead build relationships and take actions for ourselves. And I know many of you do this every single day, representing other organizations, representing your community, taking action as volunteers for Students for Liberty, and so much more. And I'm truly grateful for all of the work that you're doing. And I'm grateful for the people who are watching this, and the thousands of people who are watching on Twitch and Twitter and YouTube and all the other platforms, because it shows me that there is a potential for a freer future, but it has to start with us. So thank you for being part of this movement who wants to overcome partisanship and focus on the battle of the minds instead of the hatred of one another. Thank you so much for being here, and enjoy yourselves in the stadium. Thank you.